The Boston Red Sox just went all in for the first time in years. Not fake all in. Not adding one reliever at the deadline and trying to convince us that was enough. Craig Breslow went out and got Adley Rutschman, then added Jake Rogers, Curtis Mead, Erik Miller, and Eli White around him. The Red Sox didn't just make one move. They reshaped this roster. But obviously, Adley is the move that changes everything. This is one of the best catchers in baseball, a legitimate star, a switch-hitting middle-of-the-order bat, the type of player who raises the ceiling of your team the second he walks into the clubhouse. And for the first time in a long time, the Red Sox are acting like winning the World Series is actually the goal. They didn't sit around protecting every prospect. They didn't settle for another quiet deadline. They saw this team fight its way back into contention, and they rewarded them by making the biggest move Boston has made in years. Adley Rutschman is a Boston Red Sox, and this team just became a real problem. Today we're breaking down everything Craig Breslow did on Monday, grading every move and talking about what this deadline means for the real future of the Boston Red Sox. Let's get into it. Let's start with the move that completely changed this entire deadline. Adley Rutschman is a Boston Red Sox. I still cannot believe I'm saying that. This is a three-time All-Star, a former #1 overall pick, and one of the biggest names at catcher in baseball. Boston did not settle for another small upgrade behind the plate. Craig Breslow went directly into the division and landed the centerpiece of the Orioles' entire rebuild. And what makes this even sweeter is that the Yankees were in on him too. New York needed catching help, the Red Sox needed catching help, and both teams were calling Baltimore about the same player. Then Boston basically said, "Not on our watch, pal," jumped the Yankees and landed the best catcher available. For once, we were not sitting around watching New York make the blockbuster move. The Red Sox one-upped the Yankees. The Red Sox received Adley, Jake Rogers, and cash. Baltimore received Anthony Ianson, Kyson Witherspoon, Andy Azokar, Carlos Narvaez, and a player to be named later. That is a serious package, but this is exactly why you build a deep farm system. Ianson, Witherspoon, and Azokar all have real upside, but Adley is already the type of player you are hoping one of those prospects eventually becomes. He is a proven star at a premium position, and Boston has him for another full season after this one. Craig Breslow paid up, but he paid up for the right player, and the numbers show what kind of upgrade this is. Through 67 games this season, Adley is hitting .251 with a .331 on-base percentage, a .433 slugging percentage, and a .764 OPS. He has 19 doubles, 8 home runs, 47 RBIs, 30 walks, and only 40 strikeouts. He controls the strike zone, puts together quality at-bats, and gives Boston actual offensive production from a position where the Red Sox ranked near the bottom of baseball. The underlying numbers are encouraging too. His average exit velocity is 89.4 miles per hour. His hard hit rate is 42%, and his expected weighted on-base average is higher than his actual number. So this is not Boston buying a name who has nothing left. The quality of contact suggests there is still more production in there. And he already knows Fenway. In 28 career games there, Adley has 27 hits, 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, and 14 runs scored. He has already had a 5-hit game with a home run at Fenway, and now he gets to learn how to use that ballpark every night instead of only visiting a few times every season. He is currently working his way back from left wrist inflammation, but he was already expected to begin a rehab assignment soon. So this is not some move Boston made only for 2027. They expect Adley to return and become a major part of this playoff push. And Adley does not have to come in and be the guy every single night. Boston already has Wilson Contreras and Wilyer Abreu producing in the middle of this lineup. Adley can slide in as another legitimate threat instead of being asked to carry the entire offense by himself. Then, when Roman Anthony and Curtis Mead eventually return, this lineup becomes even deeper. That is what makes this fit so exciting. The Red Sox are not asking Adley to save a hopeless offense. They are adding one of the best catchers in baseball to Wilson and Wilyer, with Roman and Mead hopefully returning later, and creating a lineup that could become an absolute nightmare in October. And this is also the guy you, without a doubt, try to lock up beyond 2027. He is only 28. He is already a 3-time All-Star, and players this talented at catcher almost never become available. You do not give up this type of package just hoping to get 2 playoff runs out of him. You make this trade with the idea that Adley Rutschman can be your catcher for the rest of the decade. This is the type of move we have begged the Red Sox to make for years. They stopped protecting every prospect. They stopped settling for small upgrades. They saw a legitimate star become available, beat the Yankees to him, and brought him to Boston. Adley Rutschman is a Red Sox, and this lineup just became a whole lot scarier. Now let's talk about what the Red Sox gave up, because this was a real package. Boston sent Baltimore Anthony Ianson, Kyson Witherspoon, Andy Azokar, Carlos Narvaez, and a player to be named later. Those are legitimate young pieces, but this is exactly why you build a deep farm system. Ianson and Witherspoon are both talented pitching prospects, but their path to Boston was already crowded. The Red Sox have a rotation foundation built around Garrett Crochet, Ranger Suarez, Peyton Toll, and Jake Bennett for the next few years. That does not mean Ianson or Witherspoon could not become really good major league pitchers. It means Boston had enough pitching depth to move 2 valuable arms without destroying the future of its rotation. Instead of waiting years to figure out where everybody fits, Craig Breslow used that depth to acquire one of the best catchers in baseball. That is exactly what a contender is supposed to do. Andy Azokar is another exciting young prospect, and he could eventually become a really good player. But once again, Adley Rutschman is already the type of player you are hoping these prospects eventually become. Craig Breslow paid a serious price, but he paid it for a proven star at a premium position. Carlos Narvaez is the part of this package that hurts the most, because after last season, we all thought Narvi was the catcher of the future. As a rookie, he played 118 games and hit .241 with a .725 OPS, 27 doubles, 15 home runs, and 50 RBIs. He also led all MLB catchers with 32 runners caught stealing, and tied for third at the position with 11 defensive runs saved. That is the type of season that makes you believe Boston finally solved catcher for years. His offense fell off hard this season, but that does not erase everything he showed as a rookie or the trust he built with this pitching staff. Narvi was not some meaningless throw-in. He became a real part of this team, and it sucks seeing him go to another team in the division. But the Red Sox did not move him because they stopped believing in him. They moved him because Adley Rutschman is one of the very few catchers in baseball worth giving up Carlos Narvaez for. And Boston also got Jake Rogers in the deal, who has a chance to make an impact right away. While Adley works his way back from the wrist injury, Rogers can split catching duties with Connor Wong and help stabilize the position. At the time of this recording, we still do not know exactly when Rutschman will make his Red Sox debut, so Rogers could have a real role immediately. He is not being brought in because of his bat. Rogers is an experienced defensive catcher who knows how to handle a pitching staff, call a game, and give Boston reliable work behind the plate. Then, once Adley is healthy, Rogers can settle into the backup role and give the Red Sox a much deeper catching room for the rest of the season. So yes, Boston gave up real talent, but they used prospects who had crowded paths to the majors, moved a catcher they were replacing with a 3-time All-Star, and added an experienced backup who can help immediately. Craig Breslow did not make this trade just to make a headline. He used the depth of this organization to completely upgrade one of the most important positions on the field. Now let's get to the one move that had me staring at my phone like, Craig, what exactly is going on here? The Red Sox traded Tyler Uberstein to the Braves for Eli White. And to be clear, my confusion has nothing to do with losing Uberstein. I'm not going to sit here and pretend Boston just traded away some future ace. He was a depth arm who probably was never going to have a major role with this pitching staff. What confused me was Boston adding another outfielder to a room that was already completely jammed up. Eli White is a 32-year-old backup outfielder hitting .233 with a .691 OPS, 5 home runs, and 17 RBIs this season. He gives you speed, strong defense at all 3 outfield positions, and a right-handed bat that has handled lefties fairly well. None of that is bad. White can help as a pinch runner, a late-inning defensive replacement, and another option against left-handed pitching. But the Red Sox already had Wilyer Abreu, Ceddanne Rafaela, Jarren Duran, Roman Anthony whenever he gets healthy, and Jahmai Jones, who Boston had just brought in a few weeks earlier. So the second this trade was announced, my first thought was that Jarren Duran was about to get shipped out. Because why else are you adding another outfielder to a room that already has this many bodies? It felt like Eli White was the first part of another move. It felt like Breslow was adding depth because somebody else was about to leave. Then the deadline passed. Duran was still here. Everybody else was still here. And suddenly, Boston just had another outfielder fighting for a limited number of at-bats. I'm not mad about the price. Uberstein was expendable, and White can absolutely help this team in a smaller role. I'm just still trying to understand where everybody fits, because when this trade happened, it felt like something much bigger was coming right behind it. And then Marcelo Mayer got traded. That was when I thought, here it is. This is the move that opens the door for the big shortstop trade. I was actually okay with moving Mayer, but after everything we heard leading up to the deadline, I thought Boston was finally about to solve shortstop for the present and the future. All week leading up to the deadline, it felt like the Red Sox were determined to solve shortstop not only for this season, but for the next 5 or 6 years. Boston had been connected to names like Zach Neto and Otto Lopez, with other controllable shortstops also floating around the rumor mill. So when the Mayer trade came across my phone, I assumed this was setting up something bigger. Maybe Boston was clearing the position because its future shortstop was about to come through the door in another deal. Instead, the Red Sox sent Marcelo Mayer to San Francisco for left-handed reliever Erik Miller and outfield prospect Carlos Gutierrez. And honestly, I'm okay with the return. Erik Miller is not some random bullpen arm. In 38 appearances this season, he is 2-0 with a 2.76 ERA, 4 saves, and 45 strikeouts across 32.2 innings. That is a legitimate high-leverage lefty who can miss bats and help this bullpen immediately. Miller gives Chad Tracy another arm he can trust in the 7th or 8th inning, and another option late in games when Boston does not want to rely on the same 2 or 3 relievers every night. And we already got our first look at Erik Miller in a Red Sox uniform last night. Boston brought him in with 2 outs in the 6th inning, and Chicago still threatening. Miller only faced 1 hitter, but he did exactly what Boston traded for him to do. He dropped an 87-mile-per-hour slider on Tristan Peters, froze him for strike 3, and walked straight off the mound. 1 batter, 1 strikeout, inning over. Obviously, I am not going to overreact to 1 appearance in a 14-2 blowout, but that was a perfect introduction to what Miller can bring to this bullpen. Chad Tracy can use him to attack a tough left-handed hitter, escape an inning, or bridge the game to the back end. He does not need to become the closer or carry the bullpen. He just needs to come into important spots, miss bats, and get outs. So yeah, it was only 1 batter. The Red Sox also got Carlos Gutierrez, an interesting young outfielder who now joins the farm system, so this was not Boston simply dumping Mayer for a rental reliever. If the organization no longer viewed Marcelo as its future shortstop, Breslow turned him into an arm who can help win games in October and still got a prospect back. So the trade itself makes sense to me. But after Boston moved Mayer, I was still sitting there waiting for the other move, the one that was finally going to solve shortstop for the present and the future. That move never came. Now let's talk about the first move Boston made at the deadline, because this one is still really hard to judge. The Red Sox traded Connolly early to Tampa Bay for Curtis Mead. And right away, the whole thing got complicated. In Mead's second plate appearance with Boston, he got hit by a pitch and fractured his left wrist. The good news is he avoided surgery. The bad news is he is expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks, which means the Red Sox probably will not get him back until September. So from a short-term standpoint, that obviously sucks. But if we look at the positives of the deal, you can still understand exactly why Boston made it. Curtis Mead is only 25 years old. He is under team control through 2030, and before the injury, he was having the best season of his career. In 88 games, he was hitting .253 with 17 home runs, 48 RBIs, and 39 walks. That is a real right-handed bat, and it is not just the bat either. In his first game with the Red Sox, they had him at second base. That matters, because it shows Boston was not viewing him as just a DH or a bench bat. They clearly wanted to see if he could give them flexibility around the infield and help fill multiple spots moving forward. So when Mead gets healthy, he gives Boston another controllable right-handed hitter who can potentially play second, move around the infield, and help this lineup for years, not just for the rest of this season. That is why I still understand the trade. But this is also where I have a problem with it. Connolly Early felt like the type of prospect you save for a bigger move. With Boston still needing a shortstop and another starting pitcher, I thought Early would be part of a package for a bigger fish, not the main piece used to acquire Curtis Mead. Boston dealt from an area of organizational depth to add a controllable bat, and I understand the logic behind that. But it is fair to wonder whether Breslow cashed in one of his better trade chips too early. The injury makes the timing brutal, but the idea behind the trade still makes sense. Boston did not trade for Curtis Mead just for August. They traded for a 25-year-old bat they believe can be part of this team for a long time. Now that we have gone through every move, this is where my 7.5 out of 10 grade comes in. Craig Breslow made the biggest move of the deadline, but he did not completely finish the roster. The biggest hole on this team, and honestly, it has become a complete black hole, is shortstop. Right now, Andrew Monasterio is playing shortstop for a team trying to win the World Series, and brother, he has been so bad there. He looks completely out of position, the defense has been shaky, and every routine ground ball feels like an adventure. He is a utility player being asked to handle one of the most important defensive positions on the field. That cannot be the plan. Craig at this point bring back the Taiwanese version of Spider-Man Mr. Tsung Che Cheng. The brother looks like he could rob a home run from shortstop. I also still wanted another starting pitcher. I believe in Garrett Crochet, Ranger Suarez, Peyton Toll, and Jake Bennett. This rotation has been the foundation of this entire run, and I absolutely believe this pitching staff can win games in October. But when you are making a real World Series push, another dependable starter gives you protection against injuries, keeps the young arms fresh, and gives you another option when a playoff series gets weird. That is why I cannot give this deadline a 9 or a 10. Boston went out and landed Adley Rutschman. They strengthened the bullpen, added another controllable right-handed bat, and showed more aggression than we have seen from this organization in years. The Red Sox went all in, but shortstop is still a disaster, and the rotation did not get that final arm. This was a really good deadline. It just was not a complete one. Monday proved that the Red Sox are completely all in. These were not small moves designed to sneak into a wild card spot. Boston added players who can become key factors deep into October because Craig Breslow and this organization believe this team can win the whole damn thing. And why wouldn't they? The Red Sox just walked into Dodger Stadium and swept the back-to-back World Series champions. Ceddanne Rafaela homered in all 3 games, including twice on Saturday, and made the best team in baseball look completely helpless. Boston did not survive that series. They went into Los Angeles and took it from them. Ceddy had the Dodgers so scared out of their boots that they had to go trade for Tarek Skubal for crying out loud. They have Garrett Crochet, a legitimate ace who can take the ball in Game 1 of any playoff series. They have Ranger Suarez, Peyton Toll, and Jake Bennett behind him. They added Erik Miller to make the bullpen even deeper. Then they went out and added Adley freaking Rutschman, A three-time All-Star, one of the best catchers in baseball, a switch hitter who can control the strike zone, hit in the middle of the order, and completely change the way opposing pitchers attack this lineup. You put Adley alongside Wilson Contreras, Wilyer Abreu, Ceddanne Rafaela, and Jarren Duran. Then hopefully get Roman Anthony and Curtis Mead back before October. And suddenly, this lineup has the firepower and depth to beat anybody. Is this team perfect? No. Shortstop is still a complete disaster, and I still would have loved another starting pitcher. But there is no perfect team in the American League. The Red Sox have the pitching to win a playoff series. They have an ace who can dominate in October. They have a lineup that has already shown it can go on an unbelievable run. And now they have added the type of star who can change an entire postseason. This is not some cute wild card story anymore. This is not a team that should just be happy to make the playoffs. This is a legitimate World Series team. I said it before, and I'm going to say it even louder now. The Boston Red Sox are making the World Series. And if you don't like it, get the fuck out of the way.